Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Because now I know when something happens in our lives that is unexpected, you have to go into it in order to ever have any hope of coming through it. So when you go, guess what? When you come out the other side, you grow.
Brought out more in me than I thought that I didn't even know that I had.
That has given all of us a great hope for what we can do with our own messages, our abilities to deliver, but most importantly, to deliver it in an authentic and very, very intriguing way.
Have you ever been in something or felt something where the only way you felt you could deal with it was to leave, get away? I thought that was the meaning of control. It took me 4.5 years to stop looking around the room of my life, of my journey, of my purpose, digging in cushions for a remote that never existed. Looking, re-looking, going back and upgrading, bringing in and pulling out things that do not serve you must go. Those things out in this world that are designed to bring us down, to keep us down, put their foot on our neck and whisper to us that we're never good enough, they don't whisper. They yell at us from all directions, top to bottom, bottom to top, side to side, side to side, corner to corner, and corner to corner, 365 days. When somebody asks you about yourself, don't you dare whisper. When they ask you to raise your hand, don't you dare half raise it. When they ask you something good about you, you scream it with all you have. Come on now, get up, get up. Tell me who you are. Show me who you are. Greatest truth of all, that not everyone has to remain lost. listen to the theme song this morning. We're going to do some more. Want to hear it? Here you go. I have rhythm. I don't care what my nieces and nephews say. No, seriously. Whenever we're at a family thing, and they're all out there. Now, okay, granted, I cannot do that electric slide or any of that jump, right foot in. No, I step on everybody. But nonetheless, I can freestyle. That's right. And I don't know why they're like, sit down, Uncle Carlton from Fresh Prince. Like, I don't care what this. See, that's on beat. Kind of. Good morning, and welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Lauren Michaels Harris. Did not want to get up today. Hey, is that Mercury retrograde guy or gal or thing still happening? Because, okay, I was going to just say, because I couldn't wake up this morning, but I ate a Luna gummy last night. All legal, to help me sleep. Because, I try to replace things that you take a pill for with something that is more holistic. So I said, well, let me try these Luna, because they have a little moon on it. I had to look it up. What does that mean? The moon in Spanish. So I tried it. It works. I didn't want to get up today. It's Monday, but I love Mondays because you need Monday to get to Tuesday, right? And we need Tuesday to get to Wednesday, so on and so forth. So welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. Help me welcome my sidekick. She's my Ed McMahon. My version of Ed McMahon anyway. Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo in the house. You're looking awfully spiffy, Lucy. And the Bell of Purpose is with us. There it is. Every time I hit that bell, it's not just a clever show gimmick or a prop. I like to refer to it as more of an opportunity, a reminder, if you will, that just like that bell has a ring to it, so does the truth. You trust me, you want to memorize the tone of truth with your soul's DNA. You really do. Because when the world is loud, when trauma is louder, when things that are closest to you but don't serve you are the loudest, that tone of truth is going to cut through it all and grab you and just pull you to where you need to be. Can I get an amen? So listen, speaking of where we need to be, we're in the fourth quarter. We're just a couple weeks in. Oh, let me bring this up. You guys, get over it. We're getting serious with it now. iHeart says that our numbers are really, really great, and it's time now for us to start pushing it. I speak of Licensed for Love. Louise Jefferson, be gone. She tried to come back. I told her to stay where she is. Licensed for Love. It's coming back. Ever since that movie. So Licensed for Love, the heartbeat and relationship conversation with myself and Cowboy Jax Young. Get over to the Licensed for Love Facebook page, won't you? Follow us, like us, whatever it is they have you doing nowadays in this meta universe. Also, I wanted to tell you guys, don't forget, if you or someone you know, hey, you've been waiting for that chance to have your own television show, guess what? There it is. Trajectory TV, my very own television network, kicks off with the first 6 shows November 1st. Where? Right here on the E360 television network. But when you go in and you download the app, there's 100 and some shows in about 6 or 7 different categories. Now there's 8 or 9, because I don't know if it's 6 or 7. So I don't know if it would be 8 or 9. So I'm going to say both. See what happens when you have ADHD? It's a superpower. Don't get it twisted. Anyway, and last reminder, before we get our wonderful guest in here, it's out. The latest, the Courageous Men magazine came out last week. If you want to know where to get a copy, let me know. October issue is out, and your boy is on the cover. Yeah, great little story inside. Well, there it is. Your journey begins with your belief system, and it's true. It's true. Whether you believe you've been cursed by what you've gone through, hey, I just noticed something. 1, 2, 3, 4. StreamYard, they cheated me. When we go to commercial, there's a couple. Okay, never mind. I'll deal with that later. So you guys, today I'm really empowered, impassioned, improved. I'm improved. I'm an improved version of myself because I've reunited myself with today's guest, January Riggin. I met January Riggin through our good friend, our mutual friend, mentor, brother, Jason Cisneros. You remember a few years back, I went to Salt Lake City for the Slave Free Project. And there I met January. I met a lot of people. Amber, January. I went out one night with January and Amber on their street mission. January has Soap to Hope, nonprofit out there doing things most people don't want to do, whether it's daytime, especially not at nighttime. But she's out there. She has a new book. She's all about gut punching that shitty shit, shitty shang bang. Like what is that? Chitty bang bang, shitty shang. ADHD. Just keep saying that over and over. ADHD. He's got AG. So anyway, sex trafficking. There's so many misconceptions. I had some. I probably still have some. But when we have these conversations with people who have lived through it, now that doesn't mean that they lived through it and forget about it. They lived through it and then they get to it by getting out there and letting you know, guess what I just saw? Okay. So I'm going to bring her in and I'm going to start by sharing something because I remember when I was there, I heard a lot of stuff that shocked the shit out of me. But the thing that shocked the most shit out of me, and I mean, it was a whole box of Depends worth. Is that too much information? Anyway, when Amber and January both said to me, we were in the hotel where we were doing the interview and stuff, and they said, well, Lauren, we were actually trafficked out of this very hotel. I was like, what? How did I book myself in a hotel? I didn't see bed bug warnings. I didn't step over a homeless woman in the front of the elevator. No one tried to sell me dope as I came in out of the Uber. What the hell are you talking about? Well, we're going to start by taking a look at something. And then when we're not going to watch the whole thing, but we're going to watch some of it. And by the time it finishes, you'll see her on the screen. I'm bringing her in. It's entitled, and it's from, I think, CNBC, so it's credible. And it's the most recent. I always try to find the most recent to show you guys, and most credible. So why hotels like the Marriott have a human trafficking problem? And I was like, there it is. That's what we're going to start with today. So take a look, and then we're going to get to it with the wonderful January Riggin. Here we go. Take a look, you guys.
It's become a hub for illicit activities,
sexual assault, and stop human trafficking gangs.
Human trafficking is big business. It generates about $150 billion a year globally in illegal profits. Traffickers exploit a number of companies to carry out their deeds, banks to launder money, planes to transport victims, and social media platforms to lure prospects. But there's one major sector where traffickers tend to hide in plain sight: hotels.
We know that sex trafficking takes place in hotels and hotel rooms. We also know that individuals working at hotels can be in situations of forced labor, and labor trafficking can take place at any point in a hotel supply chain.
Human trafficking is the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial sex act. In the U.S., there were more than 10,000 reported cases of human trafficking in 2020, and 72% were related to sex trafficking. Large events like the Super Bowl are thought to bring a spike in sex trafficking due to a high influx of visitors. The COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated this issue. Criminals are able to abuse new hotel technology like contactless check-in, making it more difficult to spot signs of trafficking. All the while, waves of sex trafficking lawsuits continue to pile up against hotel chains.
Now, what we also saw during the pandemic was really a confirmation that trafficking is possible and profitable in the United States because there are systemic inequities and injustices that the pandemic really highlighted.
With the impact of COVID-19, civil lawsuits, and increased awareness, what are the major hotel chains doing to curb human trafficking?
Okay, so there we go. Welcome to the show. Caught you off guard. Hi, January.
Hi, Lauren. What's going on?
Not much. How are you?
They're like, healed. I'm feeling like more grounded and more within myself than I have in a long time.
Listen, I'm eating a cough drop. Listen, I wanted to use that piece
To be over this way. There we go.
It's only 6 months old, about the hotel thing. Because I remember when I made the commercial, and Pastor Rudy and those guys were telling Jason, the only part that we don't really think is representative inside the video was there was like a guy who grabbed a little girl and put his hand over her mouth. He's going, and that's how we all think, that the little girl's playing jacks or something. And out of nowhere, someone grabs them and throws them in a van and drives off. And that's not the true face. I mean, I'm sure that happens, but not as much as other ways, like this hotel thing. You were trafficked out of a hotel. Can you tell?
That was Amber.
That was Amber, so not you.
No.
So
I've been in hotels, but most of mine was on a property. I was Amber was in high-end hotels and was rescued from a high-end hotel.
That's just crazy. I know who I had to put Lucy out because she was all talkative and she's just a cat. That little guy. What is he gonna have a sandwich?
I'm about ready to throw him out.
Are you about to make him a sandwich?
Bread.
He eats bread.
Yeah, my oldest has barely teeth. She can barely chew stuff, and so Emily makes fun of me all the time. She's like, "You feed your dogs bread." I'm like, "I know, because she has no teeth."
Poor little mama. Hey, little mama. So, January, say hello to everybody. Tell them what you're passionate about, and then we're going to get started. I'm going to dip out and give you a minute or two to just have some personal time with everybody, and then I'll come back.
Hi, guys. My name is January. I'm the founder of Soap for Hope. It's a night street outreach that provides harm reduction strategies where we go out into these high-risk, high-impacted areas of people using drugs, people who are suffering from homelessness, being exploited, high-risk sex workers, trafficking, low-end hotels, higher-end hotels, and we meet people where they're at and offer resources, almost like basic human needs, hygiene, wound care, safe sex kits. We're an approved syringe exchange program, and we're all peer ran. I'm a survivor of trafficking, exploitation, addiction, domestic violence, and the criminal justice system. And a lot of my volunteers and people that have worked with me are all people in recovery or come into our program and volunteers. And I am an advocate for people being human and ending the silence. Like I didn't survive to stay silent, and I did for decades, and it landed me in a prison for 10 years. It got other people exploited and trafficked. My first kid was killed. Just a lot of things I'm very passionate about. One is healing, like create healing on purpose. And that is where a lot of this came from. And so I could find a vein in the dark, but I couldn't find a shed of light anywhere in my life. And so, so now I'm a advocate for trying to shed light in certain areas. We'll see what happens, right? Like I'm still in the process. I'm still very grassroots. I'm still learning how to do this. I'll tell you one thing that's more damaging than someone that's actively in trauma is being someone healed that has untreated trauma and trying to save people.
Yeah, that's that ring in the bathtub that I find every now and then when I'm like, I thought I had scrubbed this thing pristine, and there's another ring in there. I think the scrubbing will always be, and I'm learning as I get older to be grateful for it.
Well, I didn't know that either, right? Like we didn't know that, like, I think there's a lot of things that, trauma, one does to us. It changes our DNA. It changes the way we look at things. It shatters our ability to even be safe in our own skin. And so once you start to feel safe, there's something more comes out because you're ready for that next and that ring that you need to scrub again. And I think we just get unprepared for that because you're like, oh man, like I've had to deal with one more thing, one more. Right. And so I used to blame God. I did. I used to be like, all right, you just don't like me.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't like me.
Oh my God. The things I said.
Oh yeah. And I didn't understand it. Right. Where I was like, and so when I didn't know I was going to be introduced to evil. Like I knew that there was good and bad people. Like I was raised kind of in that environment, but like when you start getting introduced to evil, like there's a whole, you don't know how to react to evil. I don't think people do. I mean, most people don't, right? They're never introduced to evil, but when you have to, that leaves like a stain for the rest of your life.
It does. And it's not just a stain you see. See, a lot of people associate when you say certain words, you know, there's an image with it. So we see a stain on some clothing or something. But this leaves a stain on your spirit. And it's also, you can smell it. You know, you can taste it. You know, in other words, it attacks all the senses.
Oh yeah, I in my book I wrote a chapter that's called "The Smell of Trauma."
There you go.
And when I had to face, like I always felt like something was wrong with it. Like I felt like I walked around with an odor. I felt like I walked around with this like bacteria, like I was contagious. Like I had something that would like. I don't know what it was. And like, I just felt like evil was always around me, or darkness, and that smell. Like I could walk into places and smell certain things about myself or situations I've been in. If it was like prison or, you know,
right.
drug addiction, like even the smell of like sometimes methamphetamine, right? Like that smell would come out of my pores sometimes. Or even when I shit, I was like, why? What is that smell coming out of me? Right? Like I used to just be like, something is constantly wrong with me because the smell that was just like it embedded in here and it stayed there and I couldn't get it. I couldn't wash it away.
Well, it's just like, I think it's like this. I believe that everything that happens is a clue. It's a clue. And so just like when there's something in your refrigerator, our refrigerator, that it may be behind something. You open it every time you open the door. You go, what is that? Something in here has gone bad. I believe that happens when our spirit is, because our spirit is fighting with us even when we don't know we're in a fight. It's fighting for us before we even know we're in a fight. So it will be like, something is who stepped in some shit. Check your feet. Somebody done brought something up in here, right? So January, when you said introduced to evil, take us there. What did that look like? What does that still look like to you when you think back after hearing this question?
Man, I think it was I guess it gets me emotional because the fact is that when I was introduced to evil, I was so unnoticed and so broken at a 6-year-old. Like I needed somebody to notice me. And so like I consensually invited abuse, regardless if it was sexual abuse or attention from an older man or, you know, the first time anybody ever offered me dope, like being introduced to that evil at a really young age as someone, you know, raping me for my innocence and never saying anything. And never being scared of it after that either. Right. So like being introduced to it made me understand that like, this is the only way my life's going to just be this way. You know what I mean? Like for the rest of my life, I just started to accept all these evil people in my life where If it was a predator, my trafficker, if it was a guard at the prison that raped me, if it was an abusive relationship, if it was, you know, this substance that I was so loyal to and what it created within, like that evil that started to fester in my life, is I was the one. Like I had to start facing, I was the one that was, I was introduced to me. I was introduced to me. I was the monster under the bed because I just didn't have any advocate in my life.
Wow.
And so I just had to learn to really face that, like, that was my life for a long time. And I didn't know that there was a way out. I didn't know I could do a voice. I didn't know anything.
What year were you trafficked? Or let's put it this way. How old were you when the process began?
Oh, I was probably like 13, 14. The grooming started. Yeah, the grooming started.
The grooming. And when, at what age were you, let's say your experience in trafficking is an egg. At what age were you actually in the yoke? The very eye of that storm.
Probably like, well, in the process, probably like 15 to 16, 17. And then from being there, I became my own trafficker and I started to objectify and sell myself and then find certain types of pimps, like a gorilla pimp or a Romeo pimp, or and mostly those two, in the sense that, like, the gorilla pimp is more that abusive partner that you now are surviving together, but he's going to beat you if you don't bring in the money, or we need dope, or we need to, you know, so it was easier for me to go sell myself for $5 so we could both get, you know, dope for the day or pay for shelter. Or the Romeo pimp that's like your boyfriend that tells you love you and you're doing this for you and we're doing this together and we'll stop tomorrow. I'll go, you know, like those things that started, but like where I became my own trafficker was after 17.
So if you were to book in the journey to where you believe you were lost, all the way up to, so that's one book, all the way to the left. Then the next, the end book, the bookend is when you became started to become the January that is today, because you've changed every day since that day. So, you know, where you kind of came up out of the water, you know what I'm saying? For me, just for the sake of shits and giggles, I always say 14 year. And each one of those, I look at them up on a bookshelf as each year was a volume, a chapter, whatever. Just so that I never forget the brevity of the entire experience. So that's right. So today, here you are, because here's the thing. A lot of people, when the door of trauma gets drop kicked on that ass, we're so busy scrambling to get out of the way, to get out of there. The last place we would ever think we'd want to go is back to the proverbial scene of the crime. But when you go out on the streets, just like we see crawling underneath us, Soap to Hope, and all the things you do, we're returning to a lot of the things that were where it began for us. Same thing in my work. Same thing. Talk about that. Why do you think for people like us, that is a golden lasso, like a golden anchor?
So I didn't know that I would do street outreach. So here next Wednesday, I'm celebrating 16 years in recovery. And I was a dope fiend junkie. Like, I would do anything for one more. Like I would, yeah, like I'm, and there's things that I did that are probably unforgivable. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I've been able to find peace through that. Like, cause I understand that's who I am when I put a substance in me. Right. That is not who I am today. And so, but it took me 10 years of being in a recovery program, healing, building a new support system, staying out of prison, staying out of the correction system, really to get to a place where I felt like I could go back into those environments and face that. Because my street outreach, you can walk up and somebody's trying to hit a vein right in their neck. They're trying to they're a trick's coming around and picking up a girl that just barely got hit on her arm, or they're whatever that is. And so and knocking on some of these hotel doors that, like, I was behind those doors at a time, and so it took a lot of healing for me to go back out there, because not one, that's a trigger, but not anymore in a sense, because it's purpose driven, right? It's purpose driven, it's healed driven, it's give back driven. And I wish somebody would have knocked on the door.
I know that's right. Listen, we're going to go to a brief break.
Throw these outside real quick.
Okay, and while she's doing that, you guys, we're going to go to a commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk to January about something she said in her intro when she said she was a victim, and she gave us a little laundry list. And on that list was, I was a victim of the criminal justice system. That's something you don't hear very many people say. I, too, came through the criminal justice system, and I have never seen thought of it as being a victim. So I want to talk about that when we come back. We're going to go away for about 60 seconds. When we return, have your questions, comments ready. Now's a great time to share this broadcast out. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You showed me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You showed me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. Yes, I'm the winner, yeah. 'Cause I'm the winner, yeah. Am I awake or am I dreaming? So far gone, I won't look back. And when I move, there ain't no stopping me. You're pushing me up to the top. I saw the clouds looking angry, but then the sky.
Welcome back to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm Laura Michaels Harris, and my guest today is the incredible January Riggin. She'll be back in just a moment, but before she does, I wanted to tell you about a little shift, big change in my life. I gave up the Diet Coke and, well, gave up a lot of things that didn't serve me. One of them was that. I picked this up instead. Try it. It's V8, 2.5 servings of vegetables in every one of these cans, only 60 calories in every one of these cans, and every one of these cans is easy to find. Head down the juice aisle at your local grocer, and don't say, oh, it's too late. I could have had a V8. Just pop the top and have one. Tell them Lauren sent you. You know what I want to do? I want to do one of those commercials where, remember that, is it Orbit Gum? And you go, potty mouth, clean it up. And then at the end, they wink or their tooth gleams, clean. I want to do one of those. So, okay, there it is. I'm manifesting. Oh, I actually drank it. There we go. It's wonderful. I love it. January, you said in your laundry list of ways that you were a victim, you mentioned the criminal justice system.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, the criminal justice system failed me as a 16-year-old. Nobody asked me what happened to me. They just asked what was wrong with me. And they just assumed I was a juvenile delinquent because of the behaviors I was doing. But first off, you need to start asking these kids, how does a 14-year-old end up with a gun in his backpack, right? Like the 14-year-old just doesn't wake up like that. He's like, there's an environment created, right? There's an environment going on way before that. And so that's what happened, right? Like I went in at a really young age, and you're targeted, you're groomed and targeted as soon as you walk in as a young age. Like, and you can you can watch documentaries of our youth that are being in life sentences. Most of them go in, they're raped, they're targeted, they're groomed, they're someone's bitch, or they become these really high raked because they're there for so long, right? They're the ones that are gonna do all the dirty work. They're the ones that's gonna transport the dope. They're the ones that are gonna go stab some kid. They're the one that's gonna set up someone. They're the one, like, they're targeted, right? So we like in there, when we go in at a young age, and our kids are going in at a young age at a rapid rate, right?
Yeah, more and more, younger and younger.
Yeah, younger and younger. And some of the ones back in the day that got life sentences for, like, you know, having a toy gun because their gang member told them to go rob this gas station, but they had a toy gun and they're serving life now. Like, they'll never be the same. Like, they'll never be the same. And I remember clearly a couple of guards targeted me. They knew I was young. I looked like a deer in a headlight, right? Even though I thought I was badass, I was tough, I was part of all these things. But they knew I was 16 going in there, and
now wait a minute. 16. County jail, juvenile detention.
No, we were some of the first groups to ever go into the Scared Straight program in Colorado. So that means you go into the prison system for like 5 days. You do all these things, very unorganized, unprepared. They had no idea what they were doing. And then if you don't finish the program, your next level is going back in there. And that's what happened, right? And so I didn't.
You actually went back in.
Yeah, you don't have but the thing is that they try to scare you straight, like that you'll never go back into prison. But there was no healing there. There was no, this is like it's this, like, this is where you're going. At some point, you have to intervene in between there. Like, this is where you're going. And I don't believe in exposure therapy. I don't believe that you should go take someone and just throw them off a cliff because they're scared of heights, right? Like, I just don't believe.
Like when you have a puppy and they pee or poop and you go and put their face down in it.
I don't believe in that.
It works for puppies maybe, but it doesn't work for kids.
No. Well, yeah, that's so when I went in there, I definitely was raped by one guard, and that became normal. And we normalized that in there because nobody's gonna believe you. You don't get nobody believes an inmate. You're the lowest of society once you make it into those. Like, so one's the criminal justice system and maybe the homeless population or the poverty population. We're right there with, like, we're always lying. Law enforcement's always correct. You are a manipulator. You are just trying to get something from someone. And so you really can't report in there either, because then you're targeted by law enforcement.
Right.
Knows. Like, as soon as a female is a voice in there, that she is targeted by every CO, right? Because you threatened everyone. You threatened
an investigation is an investigation is an investigation.
Yeah, so you put that whole thing at risk. And so now they're after you, they can do this. So you have to just learn to stay silent. But, like, I've shared this on your show or mass times on my on my social media platforms that globally, that connects every race, every culture, every country, is silence is the #1 trafficker.
Ooh, that's a good one.
We don't report. We feel crazy. And you're right. Like Rudy talked about, like, it's not a hostage. Sometimes it is not. There is, like, I'm not going to ever discount some of the people that have been absolutely targeted, thrown in a car, but, like, there is most of the time, even our youth, right? They get targeted and groomed through social media. Come meet me. I got ice cream. Like, let's hang out. And they think it's someone else. They go into this car, they go with this person, and next thing you know, that they're just driving off with them, right? Yeah. And I tell people all the time when I do presentations, like, our traffickers are more advanced than our military.
Perfect time to segue into what I want to go into next. You're the perfect person to talk about this. It was a couple years ago during COVID. I was, Clubhouse. kind of came on the scene, and I was like listening. It was the one place I would go and not open my mouth. Can you believe it? Right. God told me, Lauren, be a fly on the wall in there. It's a great opportunity. So that's what I used Clubhouse for. But I was in some trafficking rooms. And the thing that caught me the most, that made me open my mouth, and I even talked to Jason about this, I was like, what the hell? Is that this term or terminology is probably better. Customer. The customer. Talking about the people who are in all these prominent positions, helping the ones that are being, nowadays you'll hear about like the guy who went to prison and killed himself, and now the woman just went and got all that time because she was helping him get the girl. Those two people, judges, lawyers, doctors, trafficking. I say this, they're not, I don't know why they're called customers in there. Makes it sound like they're at the Home Depot or something, when really they are they're doing human sacrifice. They're committing human sacrifice. I feel that way about myself when I act like I don't see an injustice. I feel like that when I look over and try to act like I don't see that homeless person, or I don't ever want to look beyond, look through, or look past a reality, because it's just, I did that once and I ended up looking past my own. I don't want to do that anymore. So I want you to talk about why is it, excuse me, that those people, if you or I did something with a kid or against a kid in our neighborhood, we'd be all over the papers. We would go do our time or whatever, get out, still no place to hide, in there or out here. In there, you're a chomo. That's child molester. You're all those different things. That's yard talk, and then you come out here and you're on a list. People can find out. But these people that do the same thing at a higher level, making all that, why do you think it's $1 billion industry? That's not just from the street level. That's from those high ends. So why do they get to be called customers? And why do they get to remain so safe? The ones we saw in the media that were doing this kind of thing. Okay, they're embarrassed. Their names thrown out there. They may lose their career, but they just go quietly into the night. What the hell?
Well, first off, you just got to understand human currency has been going around on since before Christ, right? Human currency. We've traded our kids, our wives, our oldest daughter, the most gorgeous in all cultures. So human currency has been going on for before Christ. That is
marriages.
Oh yeah, they would literally sell off their daughter before she was even born, because that's how the culture was back then. And prostitution is the oldest employment of all time. And so human currency, and I actually wrote a chapter in my book about human currency. I actually call it human currency because so human currency, right? If you look at it that way, yes, they are buyers, customers, retail. And so that's how they get these names, right? Like this is
supply chain.
Yeah. And so, but the truth is the Western culture, like there's not mass prosecutions of human trafficking. There's not mass prosecutions of sexual abuse, sexual assault against children. That should be our number one. People in incarceration should not be people with addiction and poverty or a certain race. It should be our predators that are sexually abusing. I don't care if it's touched a kid wrong. That motherfucker should be in prison.
Bye-bye.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
Black man with a weed pipe is serving 10 years. Let's not, we can go into all kinds of injustice, but we have a low incarceration rate of predators in the Western culture. So people get away with it all over here. And if you're hiring and you have a lawyer, so let's say a gang member that decides to start pimping women, right? that gang member already has stigma, right? He's been to prison a couple of times. He has been known for gang involvement, drug distribution, all that stuff. So he has a rap record, right? So if he were to get busted and get that, like they're going to go do that. But it's a white male that lives up, in Washington, D.C. He has no criminal history. He's well known in the community. He's done mass humanitarian things, right? All those people you're talking about they are able to use the justice system for their benefit, right? Like, just give me probation, just give me, lower the charge, do all those things. And let me tell you, I got 2 child endangerment charges. One, when they busted me, when I went, I was using while pregnant. They literally like handcuffed me to a wall, forced charcoal down me, 5 cops. I'm like, and trying to get me to puke up, and they charged me with endangering a child for using while pregnant, right? And that involvement has changed. There's a lot of involvement with that stigma, babies being born chemically dependent, all that stuff. So I 18-year-old single white female in a rural area got child endangerment, but like a guy that rapes a kid and bought her off the online that has literally nothing's ever happened to him. I literally got 2 of those, right? I was already stigmatized as a child that I'm just a delinquent, but I got 2 child endangerment charges. And so I've had to face a lot of those. That stuff's brutal, right? Like that girl that kid that I'm talking about, she's 22 now, getting ready to have a baby. And so she's had trauma since the womb, right? Like, I was using heavy, police arresting me with her in my belly, going to prison while she literally going to prison with her in my stomach. And then
she's been to prison too.
Yeah. And so, the stigma and the advocacy that's happening now is great, right? Where mental health is going out with law enforcement. All of a sudden, crisis teams are starting to approach when they go on victim calls, but it's still not where it should be. But that shit should have been happening decades ago. Do you know how many women are dead because we did not send crisis workers or mental health workers or ask these women anything for support when they finally made that one phone call? Like, right, my husband's beating my ass. Hey, I'm in danger. Hey, I'm on the corner of this and this. This guy tried to rape me. Hey, I'm in this hotel room. And when they show up, oh, you just are a prostitute. You asked for this. See you later.
Right. It's like, oh my goodness. And see, and I want to get into the book that you've written. What I think is a huge problem, you tell me what you feel, and you guys chime in as well, is it seems like with trafficking, there's a one-size-fits-all definition that society understands it to be, but it's not. It's like a paint strip with all these different shades to make the entire billion-dollar business work. And I believe that the what do you call it? The echelon, the pecking order of is out of kilter. Like you said, you were a young girl. They pointed you and do this, but up there, over in the hills, the gated community, it's like, okay, Dom, hey, you want to play golf on Sunday? That sort of thing. So talk about.
It's so complex.
It is very complex.
Like, I don't think anybody, and I'll tell you this right now, out of all the advocates, and I've worked with some incredible organizations, I have some incredible people in my life that are in this sector of, whatever, and it's so complex. And that's when I was telling you earlier, traffickers are more advanced in our military, because our military a trafficker can literally send an emoji to a youth and get that youth to walk out of their goddamn house. Our military can't send an emoji to our terrorist and have him come out of his bunker and come, hey, meet us at the coffee shop and we're going to take you down. Like, literally, we are so they're so advanced with their grooming, the way they interact with the targets that they're choosing, the way that they're choosing to utilize our social media platforms, our certain vulnerabilities, certain populations, like the Tricks and Johns and the pimps and some of the traffickers in the community that I work with, and I choose to work with our vulnerable population, right? I'm talking about our people that are out there that are homeless in low-end hotels, drug addiction, certain poverty levels, cultures, certain ethnic groups, right? Like and you were out there with me, like there is, and these traffickers go and target this area because they lack support. They have no income. Nobody's looking for them. I have girls that I've been meeting out there for 4 years straight on Tuesday. 4 years. Their self-esteem is so shattered, but not one time have I seen them on a missing person site, a parent post somewhere, or me down there and they're like, my mom just drove by and said, hey, like, where you at? Or like an aunt or an uncle or a brother. Like, never, no one has came and asked them, hey, are you ever going to come home? We miss you. We love you. Never once. So traffickers target, and exploiters and buyers target that population.
Right. Because if something happens, which does all the time, one of them ODs, a John or somebody gets a little aggressive and kills a person. Well, nobody's going to look for her because nobody
cares. And I mean, we do. I look for them all the time. Like if I don't see one week, I'm all over. Like you, I mean, it's unbelievable how many people will be like, hey, and I'll just use her first initial. Hey, D, January is looking for you. January is looking for you. January is looking for you. And then I'll find her the next week. And she's like, everybody told me you were looking for me. And I need to tell you, like, that matters to me. Right.
Amen.
And, but most of them don't even have a phone, Lauren. They, like, if a trick were to pick them up, tell them that they could do $100, don't give them anything, beat their ass, do whatever, throw them out of the car. This girl can't call. She can't even call 911 because she don't even have a fucking phone. Like digital equity and inclusion out there. Like, so they target this population specifically because of that. They don't have a phone to call 911. They don't have a phone
to get a phone to all these different things. January. Now, why did we both just do this? I said her, you said her and girl. Why is it that 99% of us, when we use an example of a trafficking victim, we put a feminine pronoun on it?
Because it's 70% of the victims are female. Our little girls are girls. 70%. The 30% are male, and our LGBTQ community and our little boys. Like that is, and people need to start and remember that. Like our males and our gay men and our trans males are like trans males to females. They are targeted very abusive out there. Like people actually target them. That it's our culture. But like, yes, there's not, traffickers don't discriminate with a sexual preference. They just want to make money. Like, but yes, do most men want to buy a female, a young little girl? Like our Western culture is just gross as fuck, right? Like,
are we finding out, January, that people on the high end, up at the top, those ones, I never thought Jim and Carol would be involved in such a, you know, are they, what are we finding out from the few that have been busted? Are they actually partaking, or is it just a money thing? Because the sickness seed, I'm like, does that have to be inside of a person who says, let's start a trafficking cartel? That way I can get all I can, you know, I can feed my sickness, but also get paid.
Now, I'm probably the least person that would know some, because I'm very Salt Lake orientated, right? Like I'm really trying to stay here.
You're working.
But from all the people and the people that I work with, they're absolutely, what I've seen here locally, most traffickers have one girl that's like their recruiter. They broke her enough. She's involved. She thinks that's her boyfriend. He loves her most. He spends most time with her. He's treats her a little different than the other girls, right? Like she gets a little bit more, and that becomes a recruiter, right? So they have to create a recruiter. They have to recruit a female or someone that will bring some of these girls in. And I was that, right? I was the one that brought more girls into this area. And so most of them have that one that is their most, like, they will interact with. The rest is that they're selling your currency to me, your money. They can do whatever you want. But this girl is going to be treated a little bit different, right? Like she's a little, and that just happened. And then it's hard to break that girl because that boyfriend really gave her the shelter, gave her the love, gave her she got the nicer stuff. She had her own apartment. The other girls were in some trap house.
Yeah.
She got her allowance of dope every day. She got to have a little bit more power and control, right? And so usually a trafficker will pick one for that piece. But
we before the second time, we got 1 minute. So hold the book up. Let's take a look at the book. There it is. And it is Dark Side of the Moon Child. Right there. Memoirs plus writings plus poetry, Lost in Silence, January Riggin. Now you guys get the book, but get it directly from January. January, where is the best place for us to buy the book?
I'm all self-publishing. So this is, I'm going to just put my email for people to give me, and I'll give it to you right now in that chat.
Okay. And I will drop that email, you guys, inside the comment section in a couple minutes at the end of the broadcast. I'm also going to post a special post on all of my pages today, dedicated to driving traffic to the book so that you can become aware. This is a person, January, and her group of her close circle of people that help make all this possible with Soap to Hope and beyond. Get this book, get it in your hands. You're going to part the curtain through this book and look inside a world you're not being shown. Trust me. And I want you to look inside before you're getting the view from the eyes of someone you love, which could be yourself. Because if you're inside, you're not going to be loving yourself for long.
Right.
Trust that. January, thank you so much. Your work, I've been there with you out there in the middle of the night out there, and I saw things that I still cannot unsee. And I want to thank you for all you do. Come back anytime.
I love you.
I love you too. And not so much time in between. I'd love to get you in once a quarter just to keep, taking the world's face and putting it in the poo-poo. Just like it might work here. Smell it.
Like most of these street outreach teams, like we're boots on the ground. We're in the high impacted areas. We are advocating for harm reduction because we have to connect and build trust with this population, or we don't change anything. We can't just drive by or them or this. So we need to start advocating more. Get some of these.
I agree. Buy the book. Listen, January, again, thank you so much, you guys. I've already dropped the email inside the comments. Make sure you use it. Share it out. Keep your eye on my socials today. I'm going to post something. Let's share it out. Let's get as many people into the light as possible. Listen, go out today. Be the blessing you'd like to see in the world. That's the best way to make sure that spark is somewhere so that someone else can go, and the ember is now a wildfire in the making. Remember, whatever you believe is greater than you doesn't make mistakes. It's just keeping this journey interesting. And interesting it will be. Meet me tomorrow morning, God willing, out on the front porch at 8 a.m. Central, and we will do it again. Because together, we can do everything. Right? Absolutely everything. January, thank you. You guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Get out there. Have a great day. Happy Monday to you. See you guys soon. Mwah. Bye, Jan.
Bye.
Love you.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul.
Honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Boy, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind.